Number 8, Oklahoma goes down to the Baylor Bears, 27-14. And if you're like me, you're about ready to cry. Man, that one hurt. That one hurt my soul. Um, let's just get it out there on the table. If you're like me, which you probably are if you're watching this video, you're probably a fanatic at heart. You love this team. You're passionate about it. You know every single player. You always have. Um, every single year. And it hurts when we lose. It really does. I go to work every day. I work 10 to 12 hours at the post office. And a lot of me being happy, honestly, is tied up to how Oklahoma does. And some people might view that as sad, but man, Oklahoma football is something I've found very meaningful in my life, and I take a lot of pride in wearing my Oklahoma colors, rocking that OU flag. I follow these guys into the pros. You know, like I'm a Cleveland Brown fan because of Baker Mayfield. I would have never ever been a Cleveland Brown fan ever. But that's the kind of power that tradition and having a winning program can do for you. Um, so there is hope. Let's put this loss behind us. Let's get all the sad stuff out of the way and let's focus on the game and let's talk about what happened and what's the pros and the cons. Okay, so first and foremost, not everything about this game was a total waste. To be honest, I thought the defense played outstanding, and I know that they did actually get carved up the middle quite a bit. I pretty much thought that would happen, but they a lot of times they would bend, but they would not break. I'm okay with that. The total yards might have looked bad, but I know the end score is 27. Only thing I'll count 24 about on them. That last three doesn't matter. Um, if you have a defense that can hold anywhere from 17 points per game to 24 points per game in the Big 12, that's a pretty good defense. And I thought the defense got two turnovers. I thought they clawed really hard. There was a lot of times where Bohannon would just start the first play of the drive off with like a 20-yard scamper. And man, and I love Gus Johnson because he's so animated and so particular in the rhythm and the words that he used to color commentate the game. It is wonderful. And of course, he's the one that, called Hollywood Brown Hollywood, and it's iconic. But when you're losing, man, does it suck. Oh, I hated to hear Bohannon's name being called the way it was. I think he had one where he said he's slicing and dicing like a Ginsu knife, and the rhythm on Gus Johnson's voice was just amazing. But it really hurt my feelings at the time. But what was my point? The defense played. They actually played okay though. There was times where Bohannon would take off for a 24-yard scamper, and he did this like 3 or 4 consecutive drives in a row, starting the second half. And honestly, there was times where they held him to just like 3 points, and they didn't. The OU defense played really well in the red zone. For some reason, in the red zone, they could really hone in on the run, and a lot of times they were holding the Baylor Bears to only 3 points. And honestly, I was really proud of the effort they gave on defense. The only thing I would say is a few times DJ Graham got beat. I mean, just clearly beat, but miraculously, either he would get a hand in there and break it up, which good on him, fair on him. Hey, it doesn't matter if he beats you for 5 seconds, but you come back and you knock the ball out of his hand. It doesn't matter. It doesn't count. It's all the same. So fair on him. But getting beat is also getting beat. And Bohannon, as strong as he was as a runner today, he kept us in the game because, man, he could not complete a pass to any of these wide open receivers. That was that was his only negative. That's my only knock on Bohannon today. Otherwise, as far as a runner, man, it was a complete game. He ran strong. He was decisive. Um, that would be my criticism of the Oklahoma defense. I thought last week they looked outstanding on the perimeter, and actually in a couple of the previous games they didn't let quarterbacks break containment too much. Wasn't that huge of a problem. Today it was a big problem, but ultimately it's not the reason they lost. This loss does not hang on the defense. The defense, along with Matt Turk, our punter, those were like the only bright spots in the game. So we're about to get into the negatives. Okay, the negatives are I hang this loss on three people specifically. Number one, Lincoln Riley. Number two, Marvin Mims. And number three, the kicker. Yeah, I know his fucking name, but you missed two field goals and one of them being a pretty close chip shot. Yeah, dude, you're just the kicker, man. I don't know your name this week. I might relearn it next week. You're gonna have to hit some field goals, bro. I'm a little pissed at you right now. But Lincoln Riley from the very beginning blew this game with really bad play calling, and you could hear it even in Joel Klatt's commentating. It's just like he had Kennedy Brooks running strong in the first half and in the second half, and he would just stop feeding him the rock. He would let Kennedy Brooks get one solid possession on the ball, and then instead of feeding the beast again, what he would do is immediately try to run some kind of like play action pass down the field, and Baylor was not biting on it. Um, and he just kept. I mean, he really literally ran the same play like three or four times. Um, and it just, I don't understand. Kennedy Brooks was pretty decent on the. I thought I thought Kennedy Brooks was running okay, and I think even Joel Klatt, I think a lot of people in America saw Kennedy Brooks was running pretty decently, and we're all kind of like, I don't know, scratching our heads like, why is this guy not getting the ball? Why are we so hell bent on getting these like 50-yard bombs? And then the other thing is the offensive line played pretty good. That was I was actually pleasantly surprised by the offensive line. In fact, there was times Caleb Williams was standing back there for 8 seconds. And why is that? Because they were playing so many people in the secondary, and that's why people weren't getting open. So they're literally begging you to run who? Kennedy Brooks. You know, didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. Um, And what happened to the wide receiver screens? Like what? Why were there no shallow crosses ran? Why couldn't we get Mario Williams on like a shallow cross? Why were? Why was the game plan just so bad? He never allowed Caleb Williams to get into any kind of rhythm by just throwing the ball to regular checkdowns. Um, Now Caleb made a few. He made some terrible mistakes out there. This is his worst game as a starter. But where that begins is in the play calling. The play calling was terrible. There was no creativity on any of the plays. Um, Again, he never allowed Caleb to get like a quick pass. Everything was trying to set up deep down the field. He never just let them take what the defense was given to him. And they should have ran the ball. If they just would have ran this ball, they could have played way better. The turnovers would have been cut down. They could have got better field, field position for the kicker. And their deep because their defense was solid. That this should have been a victory. I mean, this is. I have no doubt that if Oklahoma plays Baylor again in the Big 12 championship, yeah, I think we can knock those dudes out. I'm not worried about Baylor whatsoever. But I never seen their offense just so come out so unprepared. And of course, this week there was a lot of rumors about Lincoln Riley and why he was missing Tuesday. And are people going to question his leadership in that moment? Was he away from Norman? What was going on there? I'm not speculating why he wasn't there. But was there a lack of preparation on the offensive side of the ball? Because what I saw was that the defense was very much prepared to go out there and hit somebody and play ball. I mean, they got 2 takeaways. They constantly kept the offense in the game, and the offense could not capitalize on nothing. You know, there's a lot of people today, they're not very happy. But for me, the real villain of this game was Marvin Mims. From the get go, he was just a super disappointment. And I know they're kids. I hate to just really put a guy down after a game. I'm sure he knows he had a disappointing day. But the first big disappointment was Caleb Williams threw a deep ball to him in the first half. And it was underthrown just a little bit. But in that situation, that kid's got to know I got to work back to the ball. That way you can draw a pass interference call. Like that's something you actually do. That's something you work on in practice is coming back on those deep passes and drawing those pass interference calls. I thought that he tried to catch it in stride, and that's what allowed the cornerback to make a play on the ball. And I thought that was kind of a selfish move, but if I mean if he catches it, he's going for a touchdown. So I'm not gonna put him down that much for just that one play. But when you couple that with the fact that he had multiple drops in this game, just wasn't good. That's supposed to be your star receiver, and he didn't go out there. He got his jack shit today. The other thing that I wanted to say about the Kennedy Brooks stuff is that if Kennedy Brooks isn't running the ball, there's really no reason for Kennedy Brooks to be on the field because Kennedy Brooks is a terrible pass blocker. And you see that play with Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler actually came in this game, and the very first play that he threw, I was a little pissed off, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are pissed off too. That was a pass interference. That was blatant pass interference. Joel Klatt said it was pass interference. Gus Johnson said it was pass interference. It was pass interference. But now that's not why we lost the game. So I'm not going to act like that's the biggest deal. But I didn't like that for Spencer because, man, holy cow. Like, this guy comes in off the bench. Lincoln lets him wind up, and he throws a beautiful ball. A beautiful ball. And I'm telling you right now, if that ball was caught, or if that drive was extended by that play call in that moment, we're probably talking about a different game because there would have been so much hype after that play. I mean, just the drama. You couldn't have drew it up any better. I almost hate the refs because they just ruined one of the best storylines in college football history. But it wasn't meant to be. But Spencer played okay. I still, he's got reps. He put reps in the game, and that's gonna look good for him on film. Um, but let's get to that back to that play. So they were rocking and rolling, and he drove them down the field a couple times. I mean, like I said, Spencer was doing okay. Like I said, people were still dropping balls. Kennedy dropped a pass in the backfield. Um, but the big play was third down, and they send a blitz right up the middle, and Kennedy Brooks, who's a pretty solid sized dude, like he should be able to hit this linebacker and give Spencer Rattler a little bit of time to get out of the pocket. And the guy just bulldozed through Kennedy Brooks, and Spencer rolled out right, and then he gets dragged down by his shoulder. 'Cause, you know, Spencer's not a big guy. We know that Spencer's a little bitty guy, and you know that hurt. So if you're not going to run Kennedy Brooks, there's no reason for him to be back there because he cannot pass block. And if there's one reason why Kennedy Brooks doesn't make it in the NFL, it's because he can't pass block. And you saw that with Samaje Perine. Like Samaje Perine had a lot of trouble making it on a team before he settled in with the Cincinnati Bengals because yeah, you can feed him the rock, but man, he can't pass block. Look at Ramondre Stevenson, New England Patriots. A little bit of a fumble issue, but guess what he also can't do? Can't pass block. So you got to get Eric Gray or somebody in there that can really contribute in a meaningful way in a pass obvious situation. I didn't get it. So all that is, you know, we all know what went wrong with the game. Let's just talk about the future because nobody needs to hang their heads too low. This team is still capable of winning the Big 12 championship. I know we kind of set this year up as title or bust, but look, I still want to win our seventh Big 12 title. This is our last year in the Big 12. I don't want to go out as no loser. And I honestly think if we meet those dudes in the Big 12 title game again, I think we're gonna knock them out, and it's gonna be like the way Kyler Murray beat Texas in the Big 12 title game. Because I do think if you give Lincoln Riley a second time around to game plan and get a little more creative and do what he really does best, um, then things can really actually be different. I really 100% believe that because I thought this was a winnable game. Nothing in this game told me that that Oklahoma can't beat Baylor. We just didn't beat Baylor because one side of the ball didn't show up. So don't hang your hats low. Pick your heads up. We'll get back on this train and we're going to get back to our winning ways. Boomer Sooner.